Ooh, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. So the NFL, in their infinite marketing genius, have once again found a way to make us care about something that really should not matter that much. We got schedule day. That sounds like a dumb name. I can't think of anything cooler than that, but they were counting it down on ESPN.com. It was like we're 7 hours and 4 minutes from schedule day. I'm just like, that's fine. But now that we have the schedule, we can now start projecting matchups. We can start looking at records. So I'm going to read off the schedule, and then we're going to give you my projection of where I think Dolphins are going to finish. I try to memorize all this, but it's just too many. So we got the Colts, Patriots, Bills, Jets, Panthers, Chargers, Browns, Falcons, Ravens, Bills, Commanders, Saints, Jets, Steelers, Bengals, Bucks, Patriots again. Now, based on that schedule, and I went through it a number of times, and some of this is based on last year, right? Like it's based on what we did before. So it's kind of hard to like project out forward. Based on that schedule, I think 10-7 seems like the most reasonable record. Again, based on health, based on all that good stuff. I think 10-7 is like I feel confident we can pencil that in. Assuming everything is good. I think to get to 11-6, that means that we will beat a team like maybe the Chargers, maybe the Commanders. Like there's some wiggle room in there where a team that was better than us last year, we are better than them now this year. But if we just beat the teams that we're favored against, and a team like Atlanta where their offense is very explosive but terrible defense, so we just kind of like wash that out. I think 10-7 is more than reasonable. I I don't know if 10-7 gets in the playoffs this year. I think there's going to be a lot more like compaction. I think you're going to see a lot of teams 9-8, 10-7 this year. You're probably going to see the two or three teams at the top. Usually it's the Chiefs. Usually it's Buffalo. Usually it's a healthy Baltimore team that's like 12 and up wins. And then you see like a cluster in that middle. This is where a team like the Broncos fall. This team where the Chargers. This is where maybe the Raiders, if Geno is really good. But the Texans will probably win the division, so it doesn't matter what the Texans are doing. But maybe the Jags have a surprising season. I don't believe in the Titans this year. But I think there's going to be a little bit of compaction in the middle where, a lot of teams that are solid, like a team like Cincinnati. I don't think they're going to win the division. I do think they're better than Cleveland, but them and Pittsburgh are like that, right? And they're going to beat each other up. They're going to go 3-3 in the conference, most likely. 10-7 might get in. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, we play a lot of the teams that we will be theoretically up against, right? Cincinnati is going to be in the mix for a wild card. The Chargers, Steelers, all in the mix of teams that we will be vying for. Even the Colts, week one is against the Colts. Seems like Anthony Richardson or we'll see what happens. But the Colts the last couple of years have been competitive, right? They should have been in the playoffs 2 years ago, but they just were awful in the last game. But a win like that in their terrible division, they have a solid enough team that they can get that 9 or 10 win. Beating them in week one may just be like, all right, you won the game you should. But the last game of the season, when we play the Patriots and, it's winning in kind of situation, had we lost that first game to the Colts, it may be you need to win and the Colts need to lose for you to get in. And you don't want all those extra variables to get into the playoffs. We control it. We win, we get in. That's where every team wants to be. You either want to be in late in the year or I'm winning, I'm in. Or if I beat this team and we knock them down, right? But you don't want to be in a situation where if the Colts lose to a Texans team that's already resting starters because they already won the division, and it's like, now you kind of hoping that the backup quarterback wins. Nobody wants to be there. It's the worst place in football. You're praying for a third string quarterback to get a dub. It's like, what are we talking about? That's usually not how it goes. So I think 10-7 is super doable. 11-6 is like we probably pulled an upset somewhere. 12-5, I'll be honest, I don't see it. Because I'm counting all these other wins, like I'm counting the Falcons and Cleveland and these kind of teams, but we play in Cleveland. And Cleveland's known to just get random flurries of snow. And are we going to be better than that? Like, is it Flacco or is it Shador? Like, what's going to happen in that game? It seems like a good win, but Cleveland's defense is great. Myles Garrett is a game wrecker, and they also beat Cincinnati and Baltimore last year. Both teams I thought were better than them. So it can go either way. But based on that, that's where I think we're going to be. And that's mostly due to this rough stretch we have between weeks 9 and 11. We play Baltimore, Buffalo, Commanders back to back to back. Now, the good thing is that all three are at home. And I use home loosely because the third game is actually in Spain. So it's a home game, meaning we wear home uniforms, it's not in Miami. Those three teams were three of the 5 or 6 best teams last year. Back to back to back. Then we get a bye week. So that means that we would have played 12 weeks straight, and we end that 12 weeks against the three best teams that we play up to that point. We do play Buffalo week 3 in Buffalo, but Buffalo shouldn't be freezing cold by then. It is, of course, Buffalo. We hate playing Buffalo. But them in late September, what'll it be 50, 60 degrees? Like, I don't think it'll be that bad. That 3 game stretch are three teams that we don't match up well against, for real, and we've had trouble with in recent memory. Now, the Commanders are a different story because we're assuming Jaden Daniels is going to be the same guy he was this past year. And maybe a little bit better because he's Debo Samuel now. If that's the case, then that offense will be really hard to stop. And one of the biggest flaws in our team is our secondary. I do not want to have to guard Scary Terry and Debo with our current makeshift secondary. That feels like not the best matchup in the world. The Commanders defense, not great. So I do think we can score against them, but they will probably score against us. Buffalo, we don't need to talk about it. Baltimore, I feel like after last year, no need to talk about it. I think they might even be a worse matchup than Buffalo because they will just run the ball with Derrick Henry. And if we're batting at the D line, then what are we doing up front? And then the minute you move guys in the box, then you got Action Jackson throwing to like 7 receivers. Not a really good matchup at all, and their defense is also great. So I don't see any scenario where we go more than 1-3 in that stretch. If we somehow go 2-1 though, a 1-2 in that stretch. If we somehow go 2-1 in that stretch, hey, 2-1 going into the bye week, hey, come on now. Finishing the year with the Patriots, hey, what's going on now? You beat, let's say if we beat Buffalo, then the Commanders back to back, going into a bye week, hey, you start feeling like, all right, we have a few cold weather games after that. We play the Jets in New York in December. Not going to be fun. We play the Steelers, obviously, in Pittsburgh in late December. Not great. And then the last game is in New England in January. But again, do you believe in the Patriots? I don't. Pittsburgh at home in December could be tough. Like, Pittsburgh is kind of they're a different kind of animal. They do what they do. But also, if Mason Rudolph is their quarterback, ain't nobody buying them. Now, the Jets at home late in the year. I'm more weary of Justin Fields than I actually am of Aaron Rodgers last year. I know Aaron Rodgers is historically great. I understand that. Justin Fields scares me because when he played at Pittsburgh and he just started running against, like, no, he played for Chicago. When he played at Chicago and they played the Dolphins, he ran all over us. And we don't talk about that game because it's Chicago, who cares? I remember watching him just run past the secondary. I was like, where are the corners? Where are the safeties? Nowhere. He just galloping around. I'm like, this team sucks. He can't throw the ball, but then he just kept getting loose. I think this Jets team is actually a little bit better than they're probably being projected at. Getting a little bit better. And by that time of the season, I believe Justin Fields would have gotten his feet up under him. I think Garrett Wilson's a tough matchup. We all know Breece Hall is good. We'll see if he's healthy or not. And their defense is going to be pretty solid as always. And it's division. So part of that 10-7 is counting like 2 wins against the Jets and 2 against the Patriots. We can very easily go 2-2 in those games. But this 3-game stretch really is going to define how good is this team for real. It's back to back to back. So you can't sulk after a loss. You can't. Even if we lost, let's say we beat Baltimore, but then we lose to Buffalo and then the Commanders back to back. It's like, all right, then what is that? Like, it's better if we lose win-win or win-win and maybe lose to the Commanders in Spain and say, it was a flight. We can excuse the Commanders' loss for a number of things. We got to split one of those Buffalo Ravens games. We have to really feel like we're a legitimate team. That's what I believe. But we can make the playoffs without beating either one. But it'll be nice if we did. Now, Adam Schefter has reported that apparently the demise of Jalen Ramsey's trade has been overstated. That there actually is a lot more interest in him, and that every team interested in him is a contender. They've added Detroit to the list. We mentioned the Commanders now have been added to the list. We talked about Atlanta before. Um, there's the Rams are still a part of that discussion. Now there's like 5 or 6 teams that are now looking to trade for him, and whatever reporting about the trade being dead and him being cut was probably overstated. That may have been a team leaking something out to try to deter interest, but this is what he said exactly. He said, "There's more interest in Jalen Ramsey than people realize. Trade could be announced in June, potentially. Schefter notes that if trade happens before, it wouldn't be processed until after June 1st for cap reasons." Now, I mentioned the June 1st deadline for a number of reasons. I didn't think about it from the reverse. I thought of it why we would trade him or cut him after June 1st will help our cap, but it also could help for the other team as well. I've never understood why teams wouldn't want to get him, especially if you're a team like Detroit and you need to win right now, and you know, hey, contracts coming. Jahmyr Gibbs contract coming up soon. Jameson Williams coming up soon. You already gave Amon-Ra a contract. You already paying Jared Goff. Like Penei Sewell just got an extension. Like, what are we talking about money wise? Let's bring in a top corner. That's still a decent corner. You still got other corners. You should be bringing back Hutchinson at some point in the year. I don't know if he starts the year, but he'll be playing, I think, early enough in the year. You got to feel like if we don't win basically this year, most next year, it's going to start getting expensive being in Detroit because more and more players will start getting better and better. And at some point, you got to pay Hutchinson most likely $40 million, right? Like by the time his contract comes up, he's going into his 3rd year, right? So next year, maybe possibly end of this year, extension talks start up. If you don't extend him this year, then it's gonna be next year. And then you're talking Michael Parsons already got his deal at that point. So now if you do Garrett, Parsons, like maybe Bosa wants to re-up on his deal, like TJ Watt wants a new deal, it's gonna be 4 or 5 guys right at 40 million. And if Hutchinson is like, hey, I'm younger than all of them, y'all need me on this team. There's no other D lineman remotely as good as me on this team. And y'all drafted me, the team, the fan loves me. I don't know how you don't give him 40 million. Again, assuming he doesn't like get a devastating injury again. But if he goes back to the guy he was pre-injury, you got to cut the big check. So you know that giant check is looming. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to want, I believe, 20 million a year. I think he wants to reset the running back market. So if you're going to have to pay him big bucks and Hutchinson big bucks, let's go and get Ramsey for this year. Let's all the chips in the table. Push them all in the middle. Hey, Jalen, we need you to come in, be the leader in the secondary. We got D-line on lock. We know we got O-line on lock. Don't get me started with the rest of the offense. We're stacked everywhere across the board. Laporta's contract comes up in a year and a half. I'm just saying, there's 3 giant contracts coming. Let's bring in Ramsey. We'll pay him right now. Maybe if we don't win this year, cut him, ask him to restructure, what have you. Detroit makes the most sense to me, actually. The Commanders have the money to actually do it, and they're a really good team. But I think Detroit is a little bit further along in their journey. Even though the Commanders, beat Detroit last year, that Detroit team wasn't Detroit. That was half Detroit, half people who just live in Detroit. I don't know who those guys were playing on defense. When Detroit's fully healthy, they're better than the Commanders are. Just full stop. I think he makes a lot of sense there. He obviously makes sense for the Commanders as well. To me, he doesn't make actually as much sense for the Rams. I don't think the Rams are like that level, but he played for the Rams before, so there may be some comfort there. We'll see. But I'm happy to hear that there's more possibilities of him being traded because that means that, again, we can actually get something back for him, which was starting to look more and more bleak. So I will take anything. If it's a 3rd this year and a 5th next year, hey, sign me up for it. We'll take it. But as always, guys, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate it, love and support. Thank y'all for the likes and subscribes. We just appreciate what y'all are doing for us. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.